October 4, 1992, the doors of a New York courtroom swung open to reveal a man whose name had become synonymous with untouchable power, John, the Teflon Don Gotti, finally facing the most relentless prosecution of his criminal career. For decades, the Gambino family boss had slipped through the legal net, his convictions melting away like the non-stick coating that earned him his nickname. Yet this time the tide turned, not because of a sudden flash of evidence, but because the very man who built his empire, Underboss Salvatore, Sammy the Bull Gravano, decided to turn witness. To understand why the trial mattered, one must first travel back to the gritty streets of 1970s Brooklyn, where a lanky, fast-talking capo rose through the ranks of the Gambinos with a blend of charisma, ruthlessness, and an uncanny ability to intimidate juries. After the mysterious death of Paul Castellano in 1985, Gotti seized control, projecting an image of a mobster who answered to no one but himself. He cultivated a media persona, flashing gold rings and flashing smiles, while his organization profited from extortion, loan sharking, murder, and the lucrative control of New York's construction unions. The government's first attempts to pin Gotti down ended in spectacular failure. The 1986 trial for the murder of Paul Castellano and the 1988 trial for the 1985 murder of a Gambino associate both concluded in hung juries. Each acquittal reinforced Gotti's mythic status. To the public, it seemed as if every charge slid off him like water off Teflon. But the very same criminal empire that fed his flamboyance also nurtured a deep fissure. By the early 1990s, internal dissent and relentless pressure from the FBI forced Gotti to confront a betrayal that would become the linchpin of his downfall. Enter Salvatore Gravano, the Gambino underboss who had overseen countless hits and orchestrated the family's money laundering schemes. In 1991, after a series of botched operations and fearing for his own life, Gravano approached the United States Attorney's Office with an offer, his testimony in exchange for immunity from the death penalty. The decision was not taken lightly. It meant turning his back on the code of omerta that had governed his world for decades. Yet the promise of a new identity and a chance to escape the relentless pursuit of law enforcement outweighed the oath of silence. The trial that began on June 15, 1992, was a masterclass in prosecutorial strategy. Lead prosecutor John Gleason, a seasoned attorney known for his relentless cross-examinations, built his case around Gravano's, first-hand accounts of 19 murders, 10 of which were directly linked to Gotti's orders. The courtroom became a stage where the underboss recounted chilling details. The night Gotti ordered the execution of a rival capo in a Bronx parking garage, the chilling phone call that sealed the fate of a government informant, and the clandestine meetings where Gotti's signature, Anwar, carved into the back of a cigar, sealed the contracts of murder. Gravano's testimony was not the sole pillar of the prosecution's case. The FBI had amassed a trove of wiretapped conversations, surveillance photographs of Gotti's private jet, and a stack of ledgers documenting the flow of money from illegal gambling dens to legitimate businesses. The prosecution also introduced the infamous Brinks robbery connection, a case in which the Gambinos were suspected of laundering the stolen cash, linking Gotti to a broader pattern of organized crime. Defense attorney William Kunstler, renowned for defending high-profile radicals, attempted to dismantle Gravano's credibility. He painted the underboss as a desperate traitor seeking a lighter sentence, emphasizing the inconsistencies in his narrative and suggesting that his testimony was the product of a coerced bargain. Kunstler's courtroom theatrics, however, could not mask the mounting weight of evidence. The prosecution's meticulous chronology of crimes, combined with Gravano's unflinching recollections, began to erode the jurors' willingness to give Gotti the benefit of the doubt. After a grueling 14 weeks, the jury retired to deliberate. In the hush of a packed courtroom, the foreman announced that John Gotti was guilty on all charges: murder, racketeering, and conspiracy. The verdict reverberated beyond the walls of the courtroom, signaling the end of an era where mob bosses could seemingly buy their freedom with charm and legal maneuvering. On April 14, 1993, Judge Thomas W. Grealish sentenced Gotti to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a sentence that would keep him behind bars until his death in 2002. The aftermath of the trial rippled through the criminal underworld and the justice system alike. The Gambino family, once the most powerful of New York's 5 families, fractured under the weight of internal betrayals and federal indictments. Gravano, granted immunity from the death penalty, entered the witness protection program, only to be later convicted of separate crimes, a stark reminder that redemption in the eyes of the law does not erase a lifetime of violence. The trial also set a precedent for using insider testimony to dismantle organized crime, inspiring subsequent prosecutions that relied heavily on turncoats to infiltrate secret societies. For the public, the fall of the Teflon Don served as a sobering narrative. No amount of charisma or media savvy could shield a man from the consequences of orchestrating a murder empire. The trial became a cultural touchstone, referenced in films, books, and endless true crime documentaries, each dissecting the moment when the myth of invincibility cracked under the weight of truth. Subscribe to The Verdict for more stories like this.